soldering does produce nasty fumes. It's a health concern. It's something that I always try to make sure that, you know, I get good ventilation, not breathing this stuff in. But I was working with this flux. I don't know if I have another. Yeah, I do. It's this stuff here, and it smells a lot like maple syrup. That got me thinking, if I can smell what those fumes smell like, that means they're entering my nostrils, they go into my lungs. And even though I have what I thought is a pretty good exhaust system for the fumes, it wasn't catching all of it. And last couple of projects I had to use a lot of flux, so the smoke that was being produced was definitely filling up the room, filling up, you know, going into my body. And to eliminate that, I thought that what could be the options, and one of the easiest options I thought that it could be, aside from putting a more powerful fan in there, the motor that takes the air out. I have this silencer later, and then it goes into this escape pipe and out into the open. One day we'll do the full review of this setup, aside from having to clean this trap system every once in a while because dust gets in there and flux fumes are sticky. But aside from cleaning that, it's working great. So what's started to bother me is that this flux that smells like maple syrup, I could smell it. So I figured maybe MG Chemicals, if it doesn't have any smell, it still doesn't mean that I'm not breathing this toxic smoke. One of the ways would be installing a more powerful blower, or have some sort of assistance push the air down into the chute so that it's not able to go up. I could either add a couple of extra links to the intake or the exhaust and push it closer, but that will take away my work area, which is already small. I don't want to do that. So instead of doing that, I figured if I mount something that can force the fumes that way towards the chute, it will just help the fumes to escape without reaching the upper area where the scope head is. So I picked up a couple of these fans, 40 millimeter square fans, running off 5 volts. They came with this regulator. After looking at it, there's nothing really fancy about it. The regulator is just to turn the power down. We don't really need to control that. We want it on full blast. I figured the cool way of having it set up would be to mount it to the ring light somehow. It has to be on the angle, right? So what I've done, I used an old tip from the soldering iron, and I was able to get a hole coming out on the angle. So when it's mounted, the fan will be on the angle as well. We need to figure out a way how to make it look stealth and clean. So we got this ring light, which got 2 wires running into it currently, so for power and the ground. We need to run into them as well. Well, we have light now. Alright, so now when we turn the power on, we should get a fan spinning here. Yep. The fan is spinning, but our lights are not doing so good. And we got some spinning at 6 volts. It's running pretty good. So the ring light is powered by these two wires that are running off the controller, which could dim it and turn the intensity more higher. If I wanted to try and see if the fan is going to start spinning, let's zoom out. Okay, if we start it this way, it spins. Yeah, so the problem here is that it just doesn't get enough juice. You know, if we connect the fan so that it spins, the lights dim. If this was more powerful, maybe it would be enough. What could we do? Well, aside from having the box for on and off switch split and adding wires directly to it to power up the fan, I don't see a better option than just having it being controlled by separate power source, which is what I got going on right now. So right now, if the power source is off, we don't have it spinning. But when we turn it on, the fan comes back on. Technically, the camera and the microscope has a USB for the mouse. We could power this thing using that USB cable, but that means it would be constantly on unless we put maybe a breaker in there, like a button. I think I have buttons like that here that I can put to use, but I'll have to look for it. This gasket in there. Let's see if that works. Yeah, that should do it. All right, well, that was fun. For me, it was definitely fun. So I'll test this out today. We'll see, we'll compare the results. Okay, so the ring light is mounted. It's fully on. Okay, let's turn it off. If we just have our intake running on full blast, let's get some flux. So The smoke streamlines into the vent pretty good. But let's say I have to do some soldering like here. Some smoke does go up. I see some smoke up, going up to like this kind of level. Now if we turn on our fan, let's say 5 volts, if I turn it off, smoke can easily go up. When I turn it on, the fan forces it to go elsewhere. It doesn't get a chance to go up. I think that's the result is pretty good. So I just came up with probably the best idea I had for this whole rig. So it's a little bit over the top for what it is, but it's gonna be fun. I don't know if that was captured on video, but when I was working with this wire right here that leads to the ring light, it's a USB wire, as you can see from this connector. And because it's a USB wire, it has 4 sets of wires leading up through this cable. 2 of them were spliced and not connected to anything, but 2 were powering on the ring light. We can run a set of wires from this box, from anything that produces 5 volts directly to the pins of this connector for those 2 wires that are not in use. At least one of them, if we link it, we'll check which wire gets 5 volts coming out of it as well. And then it should be all gravy, that this switch will control both. It will look really clean. Take 5 volts before the dimmer, maybe we won't have that issue. I think we shouldn't have that issue. Now, the only downside to this is that this is a plastic case. I don't recall there were any screws on the back, so cracking this open may damage the box a little bit, but that's what they invented super glue for, right? So I'm gonna super glue this thing. Now I'm gonna leave this for the next video. It's gonna be tuning of my microscope, but before that next video comes up, I want to figure out a better way how this could be disguised, because I don't want to see this fan stick out. It's kind of a little bit of an eyesore right now for me. It's still getting used to it, but I feel like if we have something maybe that will just be a straight pipe coming down and covering it this way so you don't see it at all. Well guys, that was just an awkward episode, something random that I wasn't really planning to film. So thank you guys for watching this episode. It was a fun one, and I'll definitely drop a link to a second part of this project once I figure out how to build that shroud for the fan. Thanks for sticking around. I'll see you in the next one.